Civilian Oversight Board would be under the Department of Public Safety, and the Director of Public Safety would hire the Civilian Oversight Board Executive Director according to the current version of the bill. My understanding is there's a committee substitute that makes other suggestions. The Director of Public Safety hires with approval of the COB members. Then the Executive Director hires the COB staff, and the COB Executive Director and staff serve the Civilian Oversight Board. So we also have a companion bill to Board Bill 208 that would create a new city department of civilian oversight. And the office must do community education about its operations and also issue annual reports that pretty much give an idea of what the progress of the COB is in completing their function. So that's about it. On that end, are there any questions related to this?
Discuss the bill among ourselves and to discuss some of the ideas of possible changes. We find ourselves in a situation where we are trying to get the strongest possible bill passed this session while we still have momentum. And as a result, we're going to have a bill that probably not everyone will be happy with. There will be people who feel that whatever version of the bill passed does not go strong enough or far enough. There will be those that feel that, in fact, it goes too far and is not needed at all. At the end of the day, we have to get 15 votes to get anything passed. We have 29 members of the board, 28 aldermen, 1 president of the board. And we had, as of yesterday, the mayor threatening to veto anything that is too strong, specifically anything that gave subpoena power. And frankly, that scared a lot of folks who were on the fence about the bill in the first place. So, as it is right now, the only version of the bill in front of the Public Safety Committee is the original 208. The committee substitute has not been formally taken up, although we did indirectly discuss all the changes. First, just let me do a poll here. How many people have read the Board Bill 208? Good. It's important to be informed and to know exactly what we're talking about, because it is the language that's in the bill that matters. It is the difference between the mays and the shalls, the whereases, and the actual law part. And so the specific of the wording matters. What we find across the country is that civilian oversight boards are most effective when they have input from all sides, and when they have both sides or all sides, including and especially the executive of the city, supporting it. It is hard, and a lot of the questions that we've had tonight about the bill is how do we get around the mayor, or how do we force the mayor to do this, or how do we take the mayor out of the equation? That is very tough, if not impossible. The first thing is that elections matter. They matter a lot. And even the language, even the strongest possible language we put in this bill, there will still be 100 silent, invisible ways that the chief executive of the city can try to stifle the committee. And so it is always going to require us to hold not only the police accountable, but also the mayor, the chief, the alderman. There will be no perfect bill that we pass where we can just pat ourselves on the back and say, okay, that's done, and just leave it on autopilot. We're always going to have to be making this thing stronger and making sure it's doing what it's supposed to do.
This is one piece of it, and I think John might have said something about it, but there's also other efforts that are underway for the Quality Policing Initiative that the Organization for Black Strugglers have. So there's going to be like different avenues that we're going to have to make these folks accountable. This is just one way, because we all know police officers. They live, some of them live in our community, others chose not to. But ultimately, they need to be mindful that we are the folks who pay their salaries, and the deal is that they're going to have to be responsive. Now, the people that are going to have to make that clear, we're going to have to make that clear to the older people. Because already we've been told that the Police Officers Association is bearing down hard on some of the South Side older people to get them to not support this. But they're like one vote just like you all are. And so that's why it's important for us to keep the pressure on at all these levels to make sure that there's accountability at all levels.
And Steve, you raise a point that reminds me of another provision in the bill. There is a provision there that says that when a use of deadly force happens, the COB
would be notified immediately and be able to roll out to the scene. So they could start to collect that information. I hear you too about what you're saying about the subpoena power in those situations. Once the police start intimidation, you can bring a witness in, but you can't get them to talk. So I really think the solution to that particular problem has to do with getting at the policies and practices that stop the police intimidation to the extent we can.
But you can't get an accurate count of police killings. Nowhere. And that's because the Police Officers Association has, put the pressure on folks that we don't want to be accountable. There's not an accurate count anywhere, even in St. Louis. So what we're trying to do is to make that information be, by law, you have to collect, but not only that, you have to include it in a report so that everybody knows what happened. And right now, if you go to Internal Affairs, it would be hard to get an accurate picture of what happened because it looks like it was rosy. There was no assaults, no complaints. We're doing fine. We're going to have to change all of that.
I don't have any data on the percentage of cases that are turned over, but I do have some data about the number of complaints. Internal Affairs in the City of St. Louis over the last 3 years internally initiated, so that's actually police reporting themselves or a commander reporting. There's roughly about 200 per year. It got down to about 203 in 2014. Externally initiated, that's complaints from citizens. 2012 it was 98. 2013 it was 95, and this is correct. We checked. In 2014 there were only 57. So it dropped almost in half for some reason last year. Yeah. So especially over the next few days, as we are working out the exact language that the committee is going to vote on, I would suggest that you go to the website, the City of St. Louis website, Alderman website, pull up the list of the public safety members, and make calls to each of those members, as many as you can. Send in emails. I see the Twitter accounts are listed. And let your voice be heard. Today, we had a committee hearing. The room was not as full as it was before. We have another committee hearing that we'll actually be voting on something Monday at 10 a.m. I would hope that folks are there and at least expressing support for the individual changes that they like to see. But now is the time. So just let people know that you're watching.
Is that going to be an open hearing?
Won't be available for public comment.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. People can be there to watch, but you won't be able to say anything. But the other part of it, as this open session comes to a close, we're going to break into those COB districts, and then we'll be trying to drill down a little bit about what people can actually do between now and then. With all of the police violence around the country and Ferguson and St. Louis being lifted up, there's more interest now in making those COBs that have been defunct more accountable. And folks are now looking to us and saying, what are you all doing? Can we use what you all use? So that I'm glad to see that, because for years people have just said, I guess we don't have anything. But again, these are our folks, y'all. These are people that we're paying. We can't let them run amok and just throw up our hands, especially when they're killing people with no, immunity. So I think what we have here is a golden opportunity to start a wave of really rethinking and revisiting civilian oversight in other places. And so we're still learning, and there's going to be, when we institute this and get it implemented, we'll probably see some places where we could strengthen it, and maybe in a couple of years, maybe come back to the board for additional laws or those kinds of things. But it's not a done deal. This is going to be a process in motion that we want as much participation as possible. And it's only going to work if we stay on the case.